All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. This is James Paris, and today we have Tessia Watson. And yeah, let's get this started. Can you kind of give a brief gist about, who you are, what you're about, what your message is, all those, interesting.
Thank you for having me, James. Such a pleasure to be here today. So I'm Tessia Watson, and I am a mother of two young children, now 11 and 9 years old. So why I'm here today is because I would love to share with your audience my story, my journey as a mother. And I just feel that so many mothers nowadays are not really equipped in terms of really knowing what's going to happen when they become mother, or why they still why they are. And I just want to make sure that what I've been through, they can avoid having to go through that as well. So yes, that's why I'm here today, is to share I would say yes, at the time, ignorance or mistakes, and to make sure that, they can really experience a great motherhood journey.
Now, this motherhood journey, I'm just curious now, what was your personal motherhood journey?
So basically, before it started, I was so confident. I was so certain that it would be so easy and peasy, because I felt prepared. I've been around children my whole life. I knew, how to take care of any child, no matter the age. And I was grateful to have been exposed to that. But as soon as I gave birth, I just realized that no matter, how many prep work you do beforehand, you will never be ready for what's, coming up, because you just have no idea of what will coming up. So in my case, for instance, just the birth was absolutely not what I planned to be. So you just go through labor, and it's just such a difficult and traumatic, birth that you just start the journey like, really? You are kidding me. Like, you can't predict that you will give birth this way or that way. You can plan the way you want, but it's not guaranteed that it will happen this way. So for me, in my case, I was in labor for 32 hours for the first one and 42 for the second one. And after those hours of labor, I had to go to C-section, so for both of them. So it was not what I planned at all. And I just started to become a mother, very, stressed, frightened. I was scared. I was tired. I was exhausted. I was in pain. So that was the beginning. And I couldn't anticipate that. And after a while, obviously things fortunately gets better, But still, there's so many things that you don't know. My child was not sleeping overnight at all, the first one. And it was the first one. So you're freaking out. You think that, oh yeah, but I knew that, baby's reputation is to sleep a lot. So what's wrong with that one? You feel like, I know they do sleep a lot, so why he doesn't sleep? And so you're just tired. You just don't understand. I try to speak with people around me in group support, and they were just, saying, some babies are different than, others, and more difficult, or they just, they're more anxious, so they need you to sleep next to them, or these kind of things. Okay, what is the solution? Because it's torture to not sleep. So these kind of things you just don't know. And my advice is you don't know in advance what's gonna happen. So I think the strategy here is to just, whatever is happening, whatever you are going through, it's really important to believe that there is a way, that there is an answer, even if you don't have it yet, but there is one. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time. I was just, trying to do my best day after day. But a couple of years after that, when the boys were older, I've met a good friend. She's now a good friend. And at the time, that was the first time we've met. And she said to me that she's a maternity nurse. And I was like, okay, what's that? And she said, we just go to the parents' house and we just, stay over. And if, the mother needs more sleep, we can, obviously make sure that she has that, just because we stay overnight. I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. And I was not aware. It was a service I didn't know. But if at the time I knew, of course, I would just, I will have give everything I can, to just have even just one night, just a normal night where I just sleep through the night. And the service existed at the time. So it was out there. But because of my lack of awareness that, for any problem, there is a solution, I didn't even, reach out. It could have taken me like maybe just, I don't know, a few seconds on Google to just look, how do you manage when your child, doesn't sleep through the night, and you can have advices, and you don't know, this service might have, pop up, or that's what I want to share about, my own story, and how sometimes, yes, it feels that there is no solution or there is no support or help. But if you decide, if you ask for it, if you reach out for help, you will find something that will, soothe the solution, the situation, and make it better.
Interesting. So was this almost like a form of, insomnia? Like, how did this work necessarily? Like, that must be a very tough thing to go through as a mother.
It's so tough. I know that babies are mainly like this, but some, as soon as my baby was just, putting down in the cot, he was screaming straight away. So it was all night long like this. And not all the babies are doing this. Of course, they wake up during the night, so every 2 hours or every 4 hours, depending of, the routine of that baby. But some cases, it's not about every 2 hours or it's every time you put him down. So that's where it's a bit, tricky. And when you've never been aware of this before, or you just don't know, it's quite difficult. It's very, very difficult.
Did you ever learn anything from your mother by any chance? Did she ever pass on any wisdom to you on maybe concepts or ideas of motherhood? Do you think motherhood is sort of something that's passed on, that's taught to other women after you? Do you think that's how it works sometimes, or not?
I think, yes, it depends of, your mother and the way she approached, motherhood. In my case, my mom was sick since, her birth. She has sickle cell. So she has been all her life very, very sick, extremely sick. So I grew up with a mother often in hospitals, and she said that me and my brother, we were very calm babies. We didn't cry that much. Maybe we could feel instinctively that we don't have the same type of other mothers, like healthy. And so we were not crying that much. So she said to me, she never had this kind of problem, neither with me or my brother. So I think it's different from a mother to another. Me, obviously, I was healthy. I was, fit. I was, and I was absolutely present. I don't know if my child can sense that as well, but the second one was less. It was less doing this kind of thing, so it was easier. But no, we can't compare my mother journey and my mom's motherhood journey. It's completely different. I think very early on, we were already used to be with other people because she doesn't just have a choice. So we learned quickly, I think, as babies, independence and, trusting other, carers, which in my case was a bit different because I took the decision to be a stay-at-home mom. So I was the main carer for my boys. So it was different. It was a different setting.
Must have been. And how did you kind of bloom into a mother? So, what other things do you think that you did, maybe outside of motherhood, that could have helped you kind of get through this experience of maybe dealing with a child, as you told me, with these sleep issues, all of these issues? So, you said you were very healthy, and I'm just curious, did you do anything else on the side?
No, and I didn't do much on the side, and that's why I wrote that book, Rejuvenating Moms Make Happy Kids, for the reason that too often it's all about the baby or the children, and we tend to forget about ourselves, our hobbies, or the thing that we would love to do to care for ourselves too often. And what happened is that when we become mothers, I was very, very happy, but I didn't realize that I was losing myself day by day. I couldn't see this. I was really happy raising them. We were, always, out doing activities, trying this, trying that. That was very, stimulating for them. And I was always on the go, so always doing something. I was not, but in terms of doing things for me, this was completely gone. And if I knew before, that you can plan a bit your motherhood journey in the sense that if you are a person that, love to exercise or dance or whatever it is, you can plan that after 3 months or 6 months that the baby is now with us, I will go back, I was exercising before being pregnant, a bit when I was pregnant. And I don't know why, but the idea of going back to exercise or doing something for myself never came back for at least 3 or 4 years after having, giving birth. Why? And it's just naturally, I don't know why we're doing this, but we sacrifice everything about us for them, which is not healthy. Because if you think that you do the things you like to do, let's say exercise or just going out with, a friend or whatever, it pleases you, then you go back to that role of mother, more at peace, happier, with more energy, or you're more focused, So I was lucky in terms of I didn't go into depression, but I know some of my friends, they did, because it's such a massive change. And in this massive change, we're not really in control, because it could be a massive change and you still decide that you want to do that, or you want to still be that type of person or whatever. But no, it doesn't happen this way. You forget all about who you are, and it's just all about raising the children. That was my experience, but it's not only my experience. So many mothers out there, they're still doing this. And it affects a lot of things, either their mental health, either their physical health, either their relationship with their partners. It could be anything, but it does affect our well-being. So the narrative has to change, and the narrative has to be, in order for my children to be healthy, to be striving, to be, happy, I have to be that. And once I am that, I'm setting an example. So automatically there will be.
That's interesting. It kind of reminds me of a lot of the airplane safety guides, especially when you need to wear an oxygen mask. Like they tell you that if you have a kid next to you, always put the mask on first and then put the child's mask on. Because in order to take care of that child, you kind of technically have to take care of yourself as well. So is that sort of what you're implying there?
Exactly. It's exactly that. That's a very good example. Very good example. And it makes sense. It makes sense because if you just, give the oxygen of your, to your child, how are you going to breathe? So it makes sense. So yes, exactly. That's the message, behind the book. And that's why, I'm here to share as much as possible for mother to just remember who they truly are. It's a beloved title, to be a mother, but you're not just a mother. You are so much more.
So just to take a back step here, did you ever find out why you stopped exercising and why you stopped taking care of yourself? Do you think this was a form of grief or pain? Like, what do you think was the correlation to that? Do you think, and how do you kind of explain that in your book or just in general?
I think it's guilt. There is a part of guilt in it. I need to take care of my child. I need to be there for my child. If not, am I a good mother? Am I, doing what's right? All these kind of, questions can, sometimes come up in your mind. And I don't know. I just felt that I'm fine. I would just focus on the kids and, I'll be okay. In just a couple of years, they will be back to school. They will be at school. I'll be okay. But I think the first one, it's guilt. Even when you start to just, trust someone else to give your child or to look after your child, you feel like, wait a minute, if something happens, if that person does, something, or thoughts. It's your thoughts, so it's up to you how you want to entertain them. And what I recommend in the book is, if you need time for yourself or you want to spend time with your partner, and so you need childcare and you have no one around you, like no family members, let's say, and nowadays we have this system of recommendations. So you can ask people about a person and see if that person is a good fit, if she's trustworthy, if she has done a good job. And it's all the parents like you telling you she's good, she's all right. Yes, our children loves her. They absolutely love her. So it helps. It helps. But I think you start to feel this way definitely when you don't have, family around. I'm in London, but I'm from Paris. If my family was here in London, I don't think this book would have been written, because it would have changed everything. Whatever you want to do, you just drop the child. Let's go to grandma. She's just around the corner, whatever. It's another way of having, it's great because you have the support system. It's when you don't have it that it becomes very challenging and difficult. Sorry.
I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I just thought it was interesting that you mentioned that, because I think a lot of times single motherhood and like true single motherhood are two different things. Because like it's one thing not having, always that partner to help you, but it's another thing when the partner and the family and the social circle itself isn't around you as well. So I kind of like the way you're describing that, because you're kind of adding a new, deeper aspect to it, if that makes sense.
Yes, and exactly. We have to ask ourselves, what does it mean to be single as well? Definitely agree with you, because for some women, the partner is around and is helping out. For some, it's just not around, and it's not the same. We can't compare. But you're gonna still call yourself single, even if the partner is around doing, taking care of the kids. You're still single. I mean, you're not with the partner anymore in terms of, living together, but it's still a different story. And the same is the partner, supporting you financially or not, is going to be as well a different story as well. So everybody has, his own story, but when the family is not around, partner or not partner around, it's difficult, because we all know that we need, a village to raise a child. It's for a reason. It's because the child gain from everyone. And just being one person taking care of the child 24/7 is just too much for one person. It's just too much. So we're trying to do it, and we kind of realize, me, it's like this. I realized pretty soon, like, there's something wrong here, because I want to spend time playing with my baby or toddler, but at the same time, I have to cook for him, and I have to do the washing machine, and I have to do this and do that, and I knew there was something that was not right. It was just too much for me, and it was just one. So when you have another one, you feel like, so I did have help. I'm not saying I didn't. I did have support in terms of I hired someone who's were helping me in the morning. But look, again, I put myself after them, not after. I didn't even put myself somewhere. It's just all about them. I had this person because I wanted to do activity with the first one, and because the other one is a baby, I can't take the baby, right? I'm taking an example. I was going swimming with the first one, and so you have to get into the pool and everything, but you can't do that without having a baby. So I didn't want, that the first one can't enjoy, any more things that we used to do together, because there is his brother. So once again, I had help, but to still focusing on the children and making sure, that they have the activities that they want to have, whatever. So, but not for me.
So what was the change? How did you begin to make this shift into taking care of yourself, getting rid of all that overwhelm? What was the sort of big jump up in your story that puts you in the position you are in right now?
I think it's not one day. It didn't happen just one day like that. It's a progression. The thoughts were coming up in my mind. There's something wrong. It's not supposed to be this way. You have to figure out another way. So it was like that day by day. I can't say exactly when it started, but it was a strong inner voice telling me that there's something that I'm not doing right in the way, I'm raising them. I'm raising them, probably right, but in terms of including me and taking care of myself in the process, motherhood is not just about the kids. It's about us as well, mothers. But we're not in the process, in the journeys. It feels like it's all about them. And when I realized that, I started to look for classes that I wanted to do. So I started with Pilates, but it was a progression. Slowly, I need to do something for myself. So then I decided, when I created as well my nursery, Petit Below, it was for that. That was the message behind. for mothers to have the time to recharge. They drop the children with us for a couple of hours, and they can do whatever, they need to do. So even when I created the business, I understood that we need that time. So it was a progression, I would say. It was gradual, because even my dreams, they were gone. No more dreams, no more nothing. And this is shocking when you start to realize that. I remember I was one day with my mom on the phone, and she said, "What you gonna do?" I said, "Oh, the children are. I dropped one in nursery and dropped one at school. Well, I don't know. I'm just gonna clean up and everything that you were before. Your ambitions and who you really are is just gone." And it's like you sleeping because it's not just me. My friends, they all like this. The children are like 12, 13, 14. They don't talk about dreams. They don't talk about what they want to achieve. It's just all about, making sure that the house is tidy, making sure that some they obviously they work and some they don't. But it's just, I don't know. I just have this strong feeling that we forget who we truly are in the process.
And how did you remember who you were?
When I started to go to classes, it was one step, obviously going in that direction of being Tessia again, So after that, I had new desires, new ones coming up. That was in alignment to who I was, going out with a friend. I was doing that before often, and suddenly you just stop doing this, those kind of things. But these moments are so precious because we understand that things have to change because you change and, the whole context change as well. But we need to create these moments to express ourselves again, the way we used to be. And I remember, it's an example, but I remember when you become a mother, you kind of, start to wear, casual, comfortable clothes and, all your, stylish, and you don't wear high heels anymore, for instance. How you can do that if you have to chase after a toddler all the time? So you can't do that anymore. Does that mean that you're not elegant anymore or a chic or, it doesn't, because you still have the possibility to create, opportunities to wear your high heels or to wear, the dress, that you long to wear, for instance. But it's our responsibility. It comes down to our responsibility to create moments where we can remember who we are. So as soon as I did that, I created other situation, context, whatever you want to call it, to help me remember who I was.
That's
Does that
good.
make sense? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And it also, I always wondered why, they would always have fashion lines or fashion brands almost exclusively catered to pregnant women, and I've seen those before. And now that I look at it, it does make a lot more sense because I think pregnancy a lot of times is seen as a stage where, the woman is expected to change, So I really do strongly resonate with what you're saying right now. And how did you sort of go back to embracing that woman? So from what I understand, it was the Pilates, you began to dress up again, I'm assuming. Like, how did you begin to embrace that nature about yourself, take care of yourself, and how could you advise other women to retain their sort of femininity or their womanhood as they are rearing kids as a mother, if that makes sense?
Yes, so in my case, I completely stopped being who I was, but if I had, the awareness or this information, or if I had listened to this kind of podcast, then I would have known that, okay, I'm about to become a mother, or I am a mother today of, one or two babies, children. And I understand that I was somebody that I, loved, embraced before, caring now for, someone else. And I can still do things, even if it's not as regular as it used to be. I can still do things that I enjoy, that makes me feel happy, or who makes me feel new and whole again. And these are the rejuvenation, practices. But from one mother to another, it could be different. It's based really on who you are and what makes you feel happy. So it's all about figuring out your own needs, acknowledging them, and making sure that you meet your needs, that you care for yourself. So me, I started to practice meditation, for instance, and that was very, very helpful and powerful. Gratitude as well. Reading, I love to read, and it helps me to focus, on the pages in front of me and the storyline. And it's not a distraction, but it just makes you more at peace and calm because you're doing something that you love for yourself. You can exercise, obviously. I'm a dancer, so I love to dance, and dancing has been therapy for me as well. So it's just starting to implement, to put in place activities that will be beneficial for your, for your mind, for your body, for your spirit. And just don't say to yourself, oh no, I'm not gonna do that because I have so much to do. I have this and that. No, you have to prioritize you. And once you do that, you become the best you can be. Of course, you will be the best mom for your children. So my advice is really to start today to implement or put in practice whatever fuels you with, positivity, with, energy, good vibes, and not put that aside, put it, but really thinking that it's a priority for you, for your well-being, for your health, consequently for your children as well.
Do you think motherhood changes as the child gets older, or do you think the role of motherhood always remains the same? What shift did you notice maybe in yourself or your kids as maybe that age bracket began to change and they got old, and you also grew as a mother too?
I think motherhood changes if you change. That's why I have around me some friends that even if the children are not, they're not caring for the children on a daily basis because they're going to school, you still see them behaving like the children are still at home. Do you understand what I mean? They're still seeing themselves as a stay-at-home moms once they decided that they wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So many women does that. They just happen to carry on the same way until the children are gone, like they're gone to, university. There, it's like, whoa, what about me now? But it doesn't have to take those so many years for you to remember who you are. You can remember who you are as soon as the baby is out, of your belly, or not forget that. And it happens to so many, but because the stories are different from one to another, obviously, but I'm really talking about when you are a stay-at-home mom and you get into that routine, unless you change inside, nothing will change, outside. So it really depends of what, you really want. And it doesn't have to be 5 years from, the childbirth. It could be straight away in your own way, that you want to do things for yourself. But sometimes it's just shocking how you can forget for so many years who you truly are, for many years. And I think that you will just appreciate so much more life and your mother journey if you do the things that you want to do as well. I don't think it's a good example to leave for your children, even for them. They need to learn that it's important to care for, for oneself.
Now, your book seems to be since we've had this discussion, it seems that self-care for mothers is the big theme here. But what do you think is sort of the main products you're selling in your business and the main services you want to provide to people? And additionally, what do you think is sort of the future of what you want to do?
I think about the future generations. I just want to avoid, the same mistakes being done generation after generation. At the beginning of this discussion, I just said the narrative has to change. If mothers, understand how important it is for them to prioritize their own well-being, a lot of things will change. Their relationship with their children, their partner, or even, with the outside world would change. We will have more women creative because they're just not focusing on their children, but they're doing so many other things as well. Lots of things will change. And most importantly, pain, suffering, and will be, less present. We will have less mothers suffering and, going into those depressions, period, because it's all about, prevention. So I think about mothers today, but I think as well about future mothers. And if I'm doing what I'm doing today, it's just because I know how difficult it is and how painful it is to not be who you truly are. And I just want mothers to know that they don't have to forget who they truly are because they became mothers. You can still be yourself, your true self, and having amazing kids, healthy, happy, and striving. You don't have to sacrifice yourself for them to be happy, healthy, and successful.
Excellent. So this was, I think, a very educational and informative interview. And if you have any closing words you'd like to say to the audience, please deliver.
Yeah, it's just out there, people are there to support. And until you reach out or you ask for help, nothing will happen. You will continue to struggle. We have to, support each other. There, if not many, but we still, nowadays have lots of support groups, and it's down to our responsibility to ask questions when we don't know, to reach out. We sometimes can feel, isolated, but the same again, it's our responsibility to go out and to, start to socialize or to be part of, mom's group. And once you do that, you're going to have tips, people will, advise you, and you will start, to feel more, comfortable in that new role.
Great. All right. Well, thank you again for being on the show, Tessia. This really was a great privilege, and I think a lot of people have learned from this, and I have too. And yeah, I'll see you all next time. This is the James Paris Show or James Paris Edition. See you.